Hi, it's Steph and Mike from thisiscolorado.net, Season 1, Episode 5. Welcome to our podcast.
Howdy, y'all.
Mike, how you doing?
Pretty good. Had 9 days off of work for vacation, and the weather would not cooperate one bit. So I did absolutely nothing for 9 days, and it kills me when I have to do that.
Yikes. Yeah, that sounds not fun.
Yeah, I only put, 20 miles on my car in 9 days because I just didn't leave my house. There was no point to.
The weather was so crappy the whole time. It's cloudy, it's overcast, it's cold, it's snowing, it's kind of raining, so maybe it's slaining.
Yeah, and then I even had to cancel my golf tournament because of stupid weather. When last year we played in worse.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, total bummer.
Did you get lots of sleep?
No, Morty doesn't let me sleep.
Oh, what about Netflix? Did you Netflix?
I sure did. Watched all kinds of new stuff that was on there. How about you?
Not a whole lot. Went to a concert recently. Had a good time.
Did you mosh pit?
I did mosh pit. I got my rear end handed to me, though. Some days you take more bruises than you give in the mosh pit.
Yes. That's supposed to live by in the mosh pit.
That's all right. Gotta have fun.
Yeah, always.
Cool. So anyway, today we're going to talk about the railroads.
We have information all about the railroad and how it came to be here in the middle of the High Plains Desert. Kind of fitting considering how much new rail and trains are happening now in the Denver metro groups. Hang with us for a bit and find out what the heck Starvation Trail is. We have some Wild West justice that involves loss of phalanges and a railroad that goes from nowhere to nowhere in a high mountain valley.
Fantastic. On April 22nd of this year, 2016, the A line opened. It's 23 miles of rail, making it easier to get in and out of DIA. Eventually, I believe the plans are to have this train line extend all the way up to the ski resorts for a super easy commute.
With this and the express line we talked about a few episodes ago, the traffic up I-70 won't suck as bad. It's less than $10 to take the A-line from Union Station. If you call an Uber or Lyft, it's $50 to $60 depending on travel time, and about $12 per person on a multi-passenger vehicle. Any bus in the metro will get you to the airport for about $10 or so with a tip for the driver. So it's comparable to all these other options.
Nice. In our research for this article, we came across a really interesting website that we thought anyway. It's called railroadglorydays.com, and they spoke of an adventure where you get to camp out in a boxcar that's toted to and from your campsite by an actual train. But it's real remote, and you can stay there for a couple days.
So they basically, have an engine pulling a couple boxcars, and they just drop them off, and you basically, camp inside of the boxcar?
Yep, it's home base. So it's got propane for cooking, it has heat, it has water. So it's a camp, but it's like setting up without actually setting up. Everything's done for you. It sounds pretty nice.
That sounds awesome.
Especially if you're going to go camp somewhere remote. It's really hard to check in all your stuff by yourself.
Right, and in those locations, yeah. Having a train just drop your boxcar off in, super deep in the mountains and the woods, to me, that's pretty awesome. I
Sign me up.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, if you want to check that out, the links will be in our show notes. So now we're going to talk about the history of the railroad and how it came to Colorado. So Napoleon Bonaparte, who sold it, nor Thomas Jefferson, who bought it, knew exactly where the western border of the Louisiana Purchase lay. TJ and NB were both unsure of the borders of their land, but it didn't really matter because Colorado came into the Union after the conclusion of the war with Mexico in 1848.
Native Americans, Spanish explorers, fur trappers, and scouts traveled Colorado territory on foot and on horseback, blazing trails through the mountains and plains long before railroad engineers began surveying. Many of the routes forged by these early explorers were used as later railroad routes, as they generally followed the path of least resistance.
That's the general path most people take.
Right?
All right, so every surveyor, public or private, could not find an easy path anywhere in Colorado and had lots of difficulties. It started in 1840 when explorer John Fremont tried to find a route for the transcontinental railroad. He tried 5 different times. John Gunnison also tried to find a route, but ended up leaving both his name and his scalp here instead.
His scalp?
His scalp, Western. It's the Wild West.
It's Wild West.
What they did provide was information on the area's topography, wildlife, and Native American people. None of that was any interest to anyone until gold was found here.
You mean no one cared about the pocket gophers, jumping mice, or free-tailed bats?
Nope.
What about the cougars, gray wolves, or black bears?
Not even.
Rude.
Rude.
Several routes were used in 1859 to get here when the gold rush started. People only came here in big numbers from the east. 2/3 of them left when they didn't find the untold riches that they were seeking, and this entry and exit solidified the trails that would later become the railroad routes.
Trails along the Kansas River and Smoky Hill River in Kansas demanded that one strike out and head straight out towards the eastern plains to Denver. This was the shortest route, but also the most dangerous, most difficult, and one with the scarcest water supply. It was later called Starvation Trail.
And for good reasons.
Yikes.
The other options were the Overland Trail along the Platte River, and then south on the Old Cherokee or Trapper Trail. There was also the Santa Fe Trail up the Arkansas River, and then north on the Old Cherokee Trail. The least popular route was from Leavenworth along the Platte River route, bearing west along the Republican River and then across the plains to Denver. So all in all, there's 4 main routes to get here on foot or horseback, mostly. From Topeka, Kansas to Denver, it's 538 miles, the shortest route. Not very short. From Kansas City to Santa Fe Trail was 788 miles.
Yikes. Could you imagine riding a horse or walking that far? Like, average walking speed for me takes about, 15-20 minutes per mile. Just a stroll. It would take at least 134 hours to walk from Topeka and 197 hours from Kansas City. That's like 6 to 8 days of walking just to get here if you don't sleep, stop to eat, or pee in today's time on paved walkways. We don't ever have to contend with unpaved roadways and weather issues like I'm sure they faced.
Oh, and I'm sure they faced many. We take everything for granted today.
A lot of it for granted. Because if you think like gold was discovered in January,
yeah.
I'm sure by the time word got out, people were itched to get here thinking, oh, well, we'll just head out in spring. And you know how spring is here.
It'd be August
It's
by
merciless.
the time we got here. July or August. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Unpaved roads, I mean, they had to blaze their own trails, so
They had to move things
yeah.
or go around things.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, there's a tree, let's cut it down. It would take them a few hours to probably cut down a tree with an axe or this or that, and they'd do that constantly.
Yeah.
So that was pretty rough.
I imagine.
There are 311 cities or towns currently in Colorado, only 604 remaining ghost towns. There are twice as many ghost towns now as real towns, but at their most popular, there was an estimated 1,500 mining camps turned ghost towns. The legend became fact, so that is the best records could prove.
So yeah, I can imagine a bunch of little places aren't going to keep record of when they set up camp and when they left and who was there.
No, they're getting gold out of the mountain. They don't want to keep records of this stuff.
They're busy.
Yeah, they want to get the gold and get the hell out of there.
Right. There was a definite need for a railroad once the gold rush started. On January 5th, 1859 it was. Mountain lines were needed, especially considering all the mining camps up yonder. So how hard was it to get supplies up there with pack animals if you were lucky, but hauling everything must have taken so much effort.
I mean, even with a pack animal like a mule or...
Still walking, like up hills all day long.
Exactly, and it's got to be slow going at very best.
Especially a lot of the canyons up are just like rock faces.
Exactly.
Like, how do you get past that if you have no tools or
and
limited tools at least?
Well, and say they've got a nice trail on one side of the river, but that trail comes to an end, and now they need to be on the other side of the river.
Right.
Well,
how do you get across the river?
I mean, you just walk your animal across, but it's dangerous. Like,
yeah. So these people really fought hard to get up there. Like, not only to take that trek all across the plains, but then to haul all their stuff up the mountains.
Right?
That's
and
crazy.
Say their burro or their donkey or whatever, say it slips on a rock while
or your horse throws a shoe, or
any of these scenarios. I mean, you're kind of screwed at that point.
Yeah,
so,
seriously perilous, hard work. Like, people that did this were hardcore.
Yeah, and we've got millennials today. But I digress. Despite private citizens' best efforts, the Booster Club, and the local government's best efforts, we could not get Union Pacific to bring the Transcontinental Railroad to Colorado. But not to be deterred. 2 separate railroad companies started, one in Golden and one in Denver, with the goal of connecting to the southern Wyoming location of Cheyenne. The Denver group made headway first and laid their first track on May 18, 1868, 10 years after the gold rush started. Interesting to note, the first town in Colorado to get a train to was tiny, remote Julesburg in 1867.
So, in looking into Julesburg, we thought we would see if there was anything interesting about it at around this time, and we found that there was a horse thief that, when almost caught, shot Jules Benny 5 times. Benny had been chasing him, knowing that he was a horse thief, and Benny survived 5 shots, and he wanted vengeance. So when he caught the horse thief, instead of handing him over to the authorities, he decided to carry out his own form of justice. He instead, and I quote, shot him dead while he was tied to a fence post. He shot off each of his fingers and then put the gun in the thief's mouth and pulled the trigger. Afterward, he severed his ears as trophies. Yeah. Well, I guess it was the Wild West.
Back then, you could get away with doing such things to people.
I imagine.
For something so little as horse thieves.
And then, so little. It was a big crime back then.
Well,
but then
today it's not that big of a crime. Back then
right.
It was a huge crime.
Right.
Because horses were everybody's livelihood.
So you do all these horrific things to this person and get a town named after you.
Right.
Right on. Go down in history.
Right. Denver finally got its link to the Continental Railroad when the DP and KP rail crews met at Jersey Junction in 1870. Later that same year, DP built a line from Brighton, which was then called Hughes, towards the coal fields at Erie. We looked all over the internet and could not find this famed Jersey Junction. So if any of our Colorado lovers know where this is at, let us know, please. We're very interested.
So Golden finally caught up with the Denver group when it completed its line in 1877. During the 1870s, it's estimated that the rail lines brought 100 new residents to Denver each day. Denver's population soared with a 10-year span from 4,759 people in 1870 to over 35,000 people by 1880. That's a crazy amount of growth. So it's not the first time that we've grown so much so quickly. It's happened in the past here. Denver has had large influxes of people several times for various reasons.
Yeah, I was going to say, sound kind of familiar with what's happening in the last couple of years here in Colorado.
Right.
Denver, on the map as a tourist destination, brought 1,067 visitors in its first month of operation. That first month also brought 13 million pounds of freight.
Wow. So they were going all the time.
Yeah, like nonstop. In 1868, a new smelting process that had been developed by Brown University professor Nathaniel Hill resulted ultimately in a successful Boston and Colorado Smelting Company, opening in Blackhawk. Additionally, in 1869, there was a large deposit of silver discovered high up in Boulder Canyon at Caribou.
So gold and silver was just popping out everywhere at this point.
Colorado, baby.
Nice. In 1870, another railroad company, the Denver and Rio Grande Railway Company, formed near Colorado Springs. The money for this came from private Britons because the government granting land had gone out of fashion. So thus some of the earliest European settlers in Colorado Springs were British.
Makes sense. The Golden Group finally made it up the hill to Blackhawk in 1872 up Clear Creek Canyon. With this development, it was easier to get everything up to the mines, so the prices for everything, including wages, dropped.
The next year brought the coal to the smelter from Boulder Valley to Blackhawk, creating a direct connection. So really, hearing trains up and down the Front Range has been happening for 144 years or so. So if you're, affected by that, it's not your favorite thing, you feel the need to complain loudly, they were here first.
So just shut up. All of the crazy railroad building ended up with a line going from nowhere to nowhere in the San Juans. In 1881, the Union Depot and Railroad Company built the city's first Union Station to accommodate multiple trains. It burned down in March of 1894, and the building's wooden tower was destroyed. It was replaced with a stone clock tower.
Sounds to me like building with wood back in the Old West was probably not a good idea.
Yeah, but it was probably the easiest way they could go because they didn't have all these masons.
Yeah, that's true. Well, because building railroads was so expensive, corners and costs were cut whenever possible. So yay, shoddy construction.
Yep.
This led to damaged freights, injured passengers, and broken rail equipment. Many steep grades and sharp turns resulted in a distressing number of derailments and train wrecks. So, hey, if you're listening, we'd like to know if you know of any of these locations where these derailments or train wrecks happened. We did a pretty cursory search, but we'd like to see it in person. So if you know of any of those places, let us know. We'd love to hear it.
The 1920s and 30s were the glory days of Denver Union Station. During that time, the station operated nearly 80 trains a day. Many trains served soldiers fighting both in World War I and World War II. Up until 1958, Denver Union Station had more travelers than the Stapleton Airport. At that point, train travel drastically declined as air travel grew and became more popular, reflecting a nationwide trend. Wah, wah, wah.
In the late 1980s, a mix of public and private groups worked on improvements to the area. At the same time, the viaducts over the Platte River and I-25 were being removed. This, coupled with new development of fast tracks, increased the popularity of the location.
If you're looking for a tour, we found the Crawford Hotel can take you if you call ahead and pay $20 per person. The tour lasts an hour. A drink is included at the terminal bar to be enjoyed the same day. Call ahead as walk-ins are not permitted. Want to do a self-guided tour? You're encouraged to tour all of the public areas of Denver Union Station free of charge.
I like free.
Yeah.
So we were talking about what kind of stuff to be aware of when you're working with or around trains. We've not had a whole lot of experience between the two of us with them, but what we do know is that you really need to be cautious around trains. They're a lot bigger than you, and they will hurt. They can't stop as quickly as you, so you need to get out of the way and just not mess with that. Some dude actually just found that out when he thought that he could beat the train, and the A-line smashed into him on their opening day. So
what a nightmare.
Good times.
2-hour delay.
They are kind of expensive, so plan ahead. I mean, you get a lot out of it. They do take longer to get from A to B, but it's a lot prettier, so it's totally worth it. Especially if, like, you're going up to Glenwood Springs or something. Take the train and look at all the untouched beauty. You know, there's a lot of places you weave in and out of that you can't see the highway.
Exactly. I was going to say there's parts where if you're driving I-70, you don't see the train, but it'll come around another bend or something. So it's like, where did that train just come from?
It's a peekaboo.
Yeah, so, and there's tunnels and all kinds of stuff up in the mountains, so that's always fun as well.
Yeah, it's really fun, actually. But yeah, they do take a long time, and another thing to think about is if you want to take it up to one of the mountain destinations, it's a great alternative to driving in the craptacular weather.
Yes.
So if you'd rather just relax and not worry about it.
Yeah, so say you wanted to go to, like, say, Glenwood Springs in the winter. Well, getting there to the mountains in the winter would probably take a little bit longer than normal.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the train, it would probably take just as long.
Yeah.
And it's safer. You don't have to drive. You don't have to worry about other drivers. You're on a track, so it goes from point A to point B. Yeah.
Relax on the track.
Yeah, find a bar car and just sit back and have a cocktail.
There you go.
This is Colorado.net, helping you create a day to remember.
We are always interested in what you, the listeners, have to say. If you'd like to share your experiences, adventures, destinations, unique Colorado eats, or people causing positive change who are passionate about what they do, tell us more at thisiscolorado.net or leave us a message at 720-733-1231 and we might feature it on an upcoming episode.
When you do what you've always done, you'll get what you always got.
If you found value in this episode, do us a favor and tell a friend. Completing our listener survey is a great way to give us feedback.
All of our links from this episode are in the show notes or at thisiscolorado.net. From one Coloradan to the next, this is Mike and Steph saying, keep it colorful, Colorado.